Good morning. Oh. Continue to read about self-reliance. Do I want to summarize? Right. Actually, maybe not, because, well, I got into that headspace immediately. I feel like I've been rough here. There seems to be a big disconnect between me and Emerson? Is that his name? Where I disagree with the most of the things. Yeah, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Alright, so his attitude to life is that alright. That is genius. Alright. Trust in yourself. Right, if we're making a charitable interpretation. Trust in yourself. Believe in your own thoughts and feelings. That is one ought to do. Right? But just being a follower, that is that will lead you not where you need to go. It's an individualist attitude, if we take that thing. Yeah, trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. Right, he's looking at children and saying, children oh. Nodonor says, hi, I'm new. What's this stream about? Alright, I'm trying something new today. I'm trying to be more charitable. Yeah, I was not very charitable when reading this yesterday. So I'm reading Ralph Waldo Emerson, his essay on self-reliance. Right now I'm summarizing. Nice to see you, by the way. How are you feeling today, Nodonor? Alright. And he's saying that boys, he doesn't care about girls. They usually don't do that. Like if you go 100 years back, only the male counterpart of the species mattered. But it's like, you can probably say that about children in all cases, right? If we're making a charitable interpretation. Alright, it's that kids feel better, right? And I suppose I would have to agree with that, right? Life gets worse the older you get. That is generally what happens. You feel a lot better as a kid. Right, the problem of a kid was that you wanted to grow up all the time because you lacked agency, right? You didn't have any control. But, right? If you grow up and have control but still stay childlike from his point of view, right? Maybe you would be happier. Nodonor says I'm feeling pretty fine. Nice. Very nice. That is above average, right? Pretty fine. That sounds like above average. Yeah, I've been experimenting with, I don't know why that got me thinking about that. I've been experimenting, is that the word? With Qt browser for a couple of days now, and I'm thinking maybe I'll try to switch over on this computer to Qt browser for a little while. Only problem is there is no franker faces. I don't. Well, maybe that's not true. I have no idea how to add franker faces to it yet anyway. Maybe I'll look into it. Let's see. And society hammers on a person. He says that, right, it is more difficult to listen to yourself when you become part of society, because society puts a lot of pressure on you. And for him, that pressure is definitely always negative. And that one I don't know how to make a charitable interpretation of, right? My mind immediately goes to the example yesterday that, well, learning, right? Learning. We are a social right? Not only that, not only learning, well, we'll learn socially, right? We teach and we learn. That's part of what we do as a species. And if all, like, that's part of society, right? Teaching and learning, building houses, right? Should every house that someone lives in, should it be built by their own hands and then be torn down when they die? To a child, when they become of age, do they have to go out and build their own house away from people? That also kind of like, that also doesn't make sense to me, because we are a social creature, and when we look at depression, like, and mental illness and stuff like that, what is that? That is so often correlated with, if not specifically caused by, loneliness. Right? Just when you get rejected by society. I suppose if we make a charitable interpretation, like if you don't live with society, then you cannot be rejected. But still, you would have to get rejected one day, right? Because you have to depend on as a child, you depend on your parents. There is a disconnect here, right? Because he looks at children, how easy they have it. Well, they depend on someone, right? They don't take responsibility. What if that is what makes life great? And being an adult is taking responsibility, and taking responsibility sucks. Kind of falls apart. Maybe he would argue that you should not take responsibilities. You should just run around in the woods, and, like, if you get hungry, yeah, find some berries or hunt some animal. I don't know. Nodonor says, I'm going through some of my old hardware and just seeing if anything can be done to reuse it. I have a lot of old hardware that I'm planning to doing that with. Like, I'm planning on one day in the future, when I'm in that mood, I'm gonna do the, like, Nextcloud. You can probably do a Nextcloud. Well, what am I thinking? You probably already have that Nodonor, don't you? Right, he continued. To see if anything can be done to reuse it, yeah. I'm unhappy with the e-waste created by perfectly serviceable devices that no longer receive software updates and support. Yeah, I'm unhappy with that as well. All the e-waste. Right, I'm not a real hoarder. What should I call myself when I'm not a real hoarder? Because that's unfair to real hoarders, right? But I have that itch to not throw stuff away and just keep all the stuff. And that works well, right? Oh, I can just say, oh, I don't like all this e-waste, so therefore I don't have to throw any electronic devices away. Oh. Actually, what I thought was you gave me that idea that I'm gonna get like a soldering kit and whatnot and start, I don't know, experimenting. I don't know. One day in the future. So I have vague ideas and plans, I suppose. Alright, Note Owner says, I once bought a cheap Amazon Fire tablet and modded the hell out of it. Using it again reminded me how good I made it. Oh, nice. Fire tablet, it's that one of the... I haven't seen what that is. Amazon Fire tablet. I'm assuming it's what I think it is. Yeah, exactly. This one, right? This is what you modded? No, I'm kidding. Oh, you can't see it because my face is in the way. I was saying, this is what you bought, right? No, I'm just kidding. You modded the hell out of it. Right, how good did you make it? I've never owned a tablet myself. I have my phone. I mean, that kind of counts, maybe. But I would want... maybe in the future, something like that. Like, part of me don't like the Internet of Things. But if you would make your own smart home with Raspberry Pis, for example, and stuff like that, you could use one of these as a controller. I don't know. Note Owner says, I have a Nextcloud, but I never use it. I don't see the appeal of it, and I don't find it satisfying to use. Fire Auto Tools, nice. Let's check it out. Satisfying, isn't it just an extra way to keep backups? I made this whole script. Yes. Right. Give me let me see your actual... Oh man, am I gonna do the Swedish pronunciation? Joshua Fern, right? Like, give me a couple of more versions of this, like 10 more times, then I'll know your real name, which is... well, it might not be your real name, I've just assumed. Right. Fire Auto Tools. Beta. Only tested on this one, use at your own risk. Hashtag works on my machine. Love that. I'm not responsible for brick devices. Nice. Dead SD cards, thermonuclear war. Oh man. Oh, I like your writing style. Or you getting fired because the alarm app failed. Nice. Please do some research if you have any concerns about features including it in the script before using it. You are choosing to make these modifications, and if you point a finger at me for messing up your device, I will laugh at you. Nice. This is how you make a disclaimer. Yeah. Lovely. Alright, Fire Auto Tool is a simple bash shell script that I made for myself to automate the process of recovering and setting up my device. I have made this script publicly available for anyone to use, but I haven't tested it on any device but my own. The script should be fairly easy to edit and tailor for your specific device and use case. Features. Stage 1. Easy sideloading and recovery. Stage 2. I don't know what those means. Recovery of what? Sideloading? Obtain root, install Super SU. That sounds great. This seems like, yeah, like you get like a sudo access to something, right? Install hosts file blocking for known Amazon domains. Install firewall. Stage 4. Remove and replace Amazon apps and services to minimize CPU usage, memory usage, and disk space. Install F-Droid and BusyBox. Oh, BusyBox. Nice. Cool. Not on the stage 1 is setting up the ROM from scratch, basically. Yeah. You're doing a BusyBox thing. Install exposed framework. I do what that is. Lock screen wallpaper. Nice. ADB already installed. Install ADB on Android tools. NixOS. Here we go. Downloading. Oh, right. If you wish to use side-loading recovery, please place the correct ROM for your device in the... here we go. Yeah. You get your... installing your own operating system, pretty much. And then you made a script to just do this on the whole thing. Nice. Yeah. That is the problem, right? When you have some tools, right? That's just lying around. You have a great machine, but you have no... I'm assuming it. Like similar to Nextcloud, you have a machine, a tech thing that is working great, but have no uses for it. That is the problem, right? And you'll probably... Ooh, that is one thing. Is the thing you linked now? Oh, wow. I'm assuming that was... One thing you could do is, there's probably, right, if the machine is working fine, there is probably someone in the world that could use this machine if you don't use it yourself. It doesn't have to end up as e-waste, right? There's a lot of places in the world where they don't have a lot of computers. And a thing like this would be a boon. I haven't really looked into that myself because I just keep everything myself. Like, that is one way to do it, yeah. No, says the problem is that it's not secure. How do you mean secure? For you? Or for a potential new user in the future? Alright. No. GPL. Nice. Nice. Even made some nice little fire auto tools. Beautiful. Alright. First thing we do is pause. Oh man, it's a bash script. Press any key to continue or C to exit. Waiting for the device. ADB wait for device. I haven't spent a lot of time. I don't know enough about bash. This seems like you don't just get going, you give people the option to just, this is your last chance. Now says, if your operating system does not get software update, it's not secure. Alright, you can get hacked and whatnot, so giving it to someone else that maybe not know computers. Is there any way to ROM it again, right? If you're looking for a use and you don't use it yourself, is there any way to get an operating system that does get software updates to make it secure? And I mean, I suppose that people, like, there are people that could use an unsecure machine as well. Node owner says that's the pause function I can call instead of repeating that code over and over. I use it a lot. Oh, this here. Read N1 RSP. I don't remember what that does. There's no way to get security updates for this device anymore. I mean, you could probably, alright? Then you could put a warning at startup, right? This does not get security updates, and you might get this machine might get hacked. Beware. You can still use it for stuff, right? Even though it's not secure. It's a bold warning. Alright, bold, but... Alright, please read all instructions carefully. Stage 1. Alright, this is all the stages, eh? And then exit. Step 1, automated recovery. Welcome to stage 1. Nice. And something. Place the image for your device in the image folder. Do not attempt to downgrade an older version. Right, be warned that rooting could break it. To enter recovery manually, turn on the device. Wow, that's a lot of... And attempting to automatically enter recovery. Boom. Ah, and here's the pause. Here's the pause. Select wipe data. Oh, right, so you read input. And yeah, right. They get to read they have to put in options, and that is just reading the options. Wow, this is a lot of, wait. What is this stuff? This is just a lot of removing Amazon apps. Alright, and this is just a long list of all the apps to remove. That is quite a few. This is quite a lot of work. Quite a lot of work. This is a lot of comments. Not only this, it's a lot. That's removing all the Amazon bloat. It's a lot. Good job. I've never done anything as intricate as this. But this is even above my bash knowledge. Like, I understand a little bit of what's happening, but I don't know these tools that you're using, right? So many things I don't know about computers in general. Right. Alright, back to Emerson, eh? Something he says that it's kind of nice, right? Is that you you have to be true to yourself, kind of, right? Kind of like that metaphor after a while, that, well, if I'm a devil's child, then let me be a devil's child, right? If you look at yourself as not having any agency of what kind of person you become, you should be true to yourself, right? Even if, like Like, even if you're a serial killer, then accept your fate that you're a serial killer and embrace your... Like, accept and embrace your own person. Instead of trying to refuse your own person. Right? If you are to be refused, that is not your job to be refused. That is for someone else to refuse you. And if that is the case, I mean, if we're thinking psychology, there is a benefit on accepting yourself as you are, right? But still, just throwing away ethics? I don't know about that. Not honest, let's be right back. Alright, see you in a bit. Before I said that, I didn't know all this before I started this project, right? Yeah. I'm not an all-knowing being. It takes effort. Yes. Of course, that is... My point is that I've never done a project that big, right? But of course, all the projects that I have done has been learning experiences. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I have done any, like, coding, scripting. Well, I wouldn't call them projects then, right? If they're not a learning thing, then they have not been a project for me. I have fixed some things that I knew how to fix, but what I have done, but those have been learning as well, right? I've reinstalled Linux so many times and redone my my dot files and whatnot as learning experiences. I've redone it over and over to learn new stuff, right? But that is still to learn new stuff. I've just recently gotten into that feeling that I kind of want to do it one and done, that my config files, I just want them to be done, right? I feel I've done enough config files to know that by now, which is one reason I'm very curious about NixOS, right? Alright. Virtues. Alright. And that's where we are. What I must do is all that concerns me, not what other people think. That is what he's saying. I mean, like, as I say, I can see some psychological benefit in believing in yourself and embracing your own as you are as a person, right? Don't refuse yourself or don't try to deny yourself. That's very Jungian, right? Embrace your shadow and all that, which I think is a fairly good idea. It's just, yeah, ethics is not by the inner world, right? It's to reject ethics as a whole. That is kind of saying, right? My understanding of it anyway is to say that you are the only person that matters. No one else matters. Right? This here. I mean, what other people think is one thing, right? What other people feel is another, right? What if you have the attitude that all I must do is all that concerns me, right? What if you have the urge to be a serial killer, right? What other people feel does not concern you then. I mean, it falls flat for me then. But what other people think that you should do, right? Actually, and that is what other people would think, you know? Don't murder all these people. That is what other people would think in this situation. So yeah. I think there are some benefits to what he's saying, but it's very black and white. Yeah, it's black and white thinking. Binary thinking. And that I would reject, I think. Alright, let's continue. This rule, equally arduous in actual and intellectual life, may serve for the whole distinction between greatness and meanness. Is he talking about this rule? Arduous? How is that arduous? In actual and intellectual life may serve for the whole distinction between greatness and meanness. It is the harder because you will always find those who think they know what is your duty better than you know it. I disagree. I think it's harder to try to understand other people and adapt to them, right? This attitude, it's like just closing your eyes and, well, it is not necessarily easy, but like it's this binary thing, right? It is harder. No, it's not harder, but it's difficult to do introspection. That I would get behind, I guess. And falling for peer pressure is easy, so like fighting against peer pressure is hard, I guess. Yeah. Nordonner says, one time my friend had me help him with port forwarding his firewall, and I was watching what he was doing on stream, and I asked him if he tried a wizard multiple times, and he finally tried it, and it worked perfectly. Nice. Now every time he has technical issues, I ask him to try wizard. Nice. That is a good piece of advice. Well, Nodonna says, internet down? Try the wizard. Game won't install? Try the wizard. Got a virus? Try the wizard. Right? But that's the second thing, right? The first thing is, have you tried turning it off and on again? That's the first thing. Have you have you made sure to put the plug into the wall so the machine has electricity? That happened to me. Yeah, that happened to me. I don't know what's wrong with my machine. It's not working. It don't start anymore. He hadn't plugged it in. He had a printer that it pulled out the electricity, the socket, right? From the wall. That's why it didn't work. I'm like, why the fuck did you ask me to come over here? What? Try the wizard.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
There are some basic stuff. Nodonner says, have you thought about making sure your circuit breaker is on for that outlet? Oh no, I have not thought about that. Oof. Have you paid your electricity bill? Oh, that happened a lot. I was working for a phone company years and years and years ago. That question came up a lot, like phoning in, I was answering, oh, hello, welcome. My phone isn't working. Alright, have you tried turning it off and on again and stuff like that? Alright, let me get your phone number and I'll check stuff off. Check stuff out. Oh, right. You haven't paid your phone bill for 4 months. Oh. Okay. Oh man, the saddest thing I remember was that happened, right? Some dude didn't pay his phone bills, and it was... I mean, every month it was like $1,000, $2,000, something like that. For like half a year. Before that, right? It had started going up and up and up for a few months, but then it like stabilized at that. It had been starting calling these lonely hearts. I don't know what they're called in English, right? There are there are numbers you call to get company. Yeah, there we go. Company. Right, and I talked to him for a while, right? And it turned out like, his wife died. Had died a few months before that. And he had started getting lonely, and he started calling these numbers, and... Right? He was grieving, he was fucked, and he started calling these numbers, and they were helping him out. And then just... the bills, he couldn't afford them, right? So he just kept on going and didn't didn't pay the bills. A sad story. No, says, you haven't paid your phone bill for multiple units of time? Oh, okay. I'll ask the wizard to pay that for me. The worst thing, it didn't happen to me. Well, the worst thing that happened to me was that... was one time a grieving mother called me and asked me to cancel the phone bill because her son had just killed himself, and she found him while he was still alive in the bathroom and was telling me the story, right? She was telling me the full story. I was just a kid at the time. I couldn't really deal with that. That was rough. But the worst thing that happened to one of my coworkers, holy shit, that was the worst. That was someone calling in grieving again because their father had died recently. They were so old and couldn't take care of themselves, so they had an alarm set up, right? An alarm for any problem. Right, automatic alarm system that phones people to, right. It's not like an ambulance, but it's like a, it's kind of like an ambulance, like a security system like that. And since he was like that, he didn't pay his bills, right? And some of the people helping him had missed out paying on the bills, right? Stuff had happened, so they had missed out paying on the bills. So in this perfect storm, phones had shut down. That alarm was dependent on the phone because it called a phone number, right? That's how that type of alarm works. But the bill wasn't paid, so the alarm didn't work. Then the house burnt down with him in it. And the alarm didn't work because the phone was off. And a grieving person called in and yelled, took out their rage and grief on the person taking that call. They quit. The person that took that call, like immediately. They didn't come back to work. That's kind of fucked up. Blasphemous says, the alarm didn't work because the phone was off? Oh, you came in the middle of that thing, Blasphemous? Nice to see you again. No. The bills weren't paid, so that alarm didn't go off. So the people who were supposed to come out and help him when stuff that went wrong happened, like a fire. Yeah. And the reason that the phone didn't work was because the bills weren't paid. And they had actually, right? And they had even thought about this, right? They had made sure to call in and make a setup. We had notes. I remember there were notes in that account, that telephone account, that this telephone cannot be suspended because of the alarm, but the automated system suspended it anyway. Yeah. What was the beginning of this story? All right, I was working at a phone company, right, and I was just talking about horror stories from what I've heard, like calls that got in. And the story was that someone took a call from a grieving raging. I don't remember if it was a son or daughter. When they parent, their father died a few days ago from a fire. And the alarm hadn't gone off. That they set up specifically for these types of situations. But it didn't go off because the phone bill wasn't paid. It's a sad story. Right. It kind of sucks, right? Some automated system just suspending your phone so it didn't work. Okay, and he didn't have a normal smoke alarm? Sure he did. The whole reason why he had this thing was he couldn't take care of himself, right? He needed help moving around in the house. There were people like every day there helping him out, helping him taking his medicine, taking him out for walks, stuff like that, right? Like, I didn't take the call, I didn't ask for details, but we have that, right? There are home services, they're called. And when you need as much home services, like when it becomes extreme, you have an alarm. Lastman says, so he couldn't get up or something? Exactly, right? So the smoke alarm was connected to that other alarm. So if the smoke alarm goes off, the phone calls home services, and home services, right? They get out. Maybe they call the fire department, right? Well, actually, I don't think the fire alarm was connected. I think he just has an alarm that he can press. Yes. And that is something he can do. Yeah, I don't think they connected to the fire alarm. That would be a good idea, though. But they have an alarm to press. But, right. So nobody knows what actually happened. But the grieving children assumed, right, that he pressed the alarm. Which one would do, right? If there's a fire, the smoke alarm goes off, and you have an alarm to ask for help, where you just press a button, you would assume that he pressed a button, right? Asking for help. Yeah. Hello, Coleman 122. Nice to see you again. He says they thought it worked. Yes, either. Right. Yeah, right. Of course, he couldn't get out from the house. Lastman says, don't rely on technology. Alright, he was in such a situation, right, that there would have been no other way, right? He would have to have another person around 24/7 to make sure this didn't happen. Right. I guess you would be a person to say as well, don't rely on other people. Coleman 122 says, I think the moral of that story is pay your fucking bills. Wow, that's rough. No moral of the story, no. Just, I mean, there were no... I don't see any bad actors in that story. It was an accident, right? You know, stuff happens. People die. It's just part of life. Yeah, just shit happens. And of course, well, not of course, but like, there are different ways to grieve, but I can understand, right? I can relate to someone grieving in rage and wanting someone to blame, right? I can understand that, right? It's why they would do that, but I feel sorry for the person who took the brunt of that chewing out, right? I probably would have quit too, right, if I got that chewing out. Yeah. Especially as a kid, right? Especially as a kid having that teenager. Having that happen to me. I probably, yeah, it would take some time to deal with that. I mean, I had a problem with that other story. Right, about I had mother calling me in just days after her son had killed himself. And she was telling me the full story because she needed to. And I'm like, What am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to deal with that? Took me a while to deal with this as a kid, yeah. Blasphemous. That's expected. Did fuck up, Kappa? Yeah, people fucks up. People fuck up. It happens, right? Yeah. Yeah, shitty stuff happens. That is part of life. Alright. You missed also, I summarized. I think I made a pretty good job of it. I summarized it and I was way more charitable. Was way more charitable in my summary of this text than I was yesterday, right? So I can see value in the text now. Like, yeah, it's just... It is very binary. It's very black and white thinking. There are some ideas that are valuable in the text. I can make that interpretation. Right, we can say that this is about peer pressure, right? It is harder to only do what you want because it's just peer pressure. But it depends, like that's cherry picking a situation, right? In other situations, it is easier to just don't listen to what anyone else says. That's usually what ego does, right? Just, no, I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. Right. The easy thing in the world is to live after the world's opinion. And that, like, I disagree that is not how I have lived my life. Right? I think if you would ask a lot of autistic people, right? They talk about masking, that they have to pretend to be something that they're not, and that's not fucking easy. Right. It is easy in solitude to live after our own. Oh, right. He is right. Good point. He is arguing to living in solitude, which I would again argue that, right, living on your own might be leading to a lot of depression, right? Extroverts, this is not so easy for an extrovert to live like this. Maybe. Yeah, different people that live different lives. But right, for me, I can spend a lot of time in solitude and probably be quite fine. Yeah. That's an easy way to don't be in peer pressure situations. Just spend most of your time in solitude, and then you don't have to... But yeah, different personalities. Blasphemous says most people do. Live in solitude? Wait, no, that's not what you meant. Most people do live after the world's opinions. Yeah. Most people do this? Sure, yeah. Partly, right? It's... Again, I'm not... I want to see a scale, right? There's a lot of opinions that the world have that I live by, right? That I live after. But there's also a lot of opinions that are my own that I live after. Right? It's not that black and white. Right? I remember that it was him who said that comedian. He said a good thing. Right? He's an atheist and whatnot. He made The Office. British dude. Whatever, I'm not very good at names. He said he was asked, like atheists, there's nothing stopping them from just raping and murdering however much they want. And his response was, well, yeah, I am raping and murdering exactly as much as I want to. Right? He had no desire to rape and murder. So one could argue that he was living after the world's opinion. Sure, but right, it was also his own. Right? You live after your own urges, right? They control you, your own urges. And I would argue that for most people that is more prevalent than living after the world's opinions. But I get your point, right? There's a lot of this going on, and it's not necessarily, right? From my point of view, this is not necessarily a bad thing. Right? It can be good, can be bad, depending on the situation. All right. But the great man is he who, in the midst of the crowd, keeps with perfect sweetness the independence of solitude. Right? If we make a charitable interpretation, we can say that this is about not falling without peer pressure. And if that is the way to interpret, like, that interpretation, I'm fine, right? Sometimes there is value in peer pressure. Most often, I would probably argue with him, right? That actually, like, if we talk utopia, I would probably say that, yeah, you should always come to your ethics by doing your own research, so to speak, right? Make up your own mind. In my perfect world, right? Because I want to force ethics upon all the people, right? To study that in school and make up their own minds in that kind of way. Rather than following any dogma, right? Then I would also say, right, there, like, if we set up laws that you don't agree with, I would still argue that you follow these laws. But then again, we were talking about a tiered society, whatever, right? And hopefully there would be such a variance of societies that have different laws that suits different people. Yeah, utopian stuff, right? A lot of different types of societies or groups or countries or whatever, right? Different areas that follows different laws. All right. The objection to conforming to usages that have become dead to you is that it scatters your force. Wait. Conforming to usages that have become dead to you? I don't understand what that means. It scatters your force? It loses your time and blurs the impression of your character. Oh, you lose yourself. Is that what it's saying, right? If you just conform, then you just become your own person. You don't become your own person. If you maintain a dead church, contribute to a dead Bible society, vote with a great party either for the governor or against it, spread your table like a base housekeeper. Under all these screens, I have difficulty to detect the precise man you are. Yeah. Again with the binary, right? To the person that maintains the church or contribute to a Bible society. To that person, the church is not dead. To that person, the society is not dead. To that person, that government, right, is not dead, right? To the person that does these things, I would say under these screens, I have difficulty to detect the precise man you are. I would say the more information I have about a person, the easier it is to detect the kind of person they are. Right? Every data point helps with understanding a different person, right? So all these data points would help. Actually, I was driving my car yesterday and I heard something very strange. I didn't think that was a thing, but I was just listening to the radio instead of some music. Like, I do that from time to time. There are some nice radio programs, but there was a religious radio program. I didn't think we did those in Sweden. Like, I hadn't heard religious people talking about religious stuff in years. But it was very interesting. They were talking about the decline of the Swedish church, which is the biggest organized Christian organization in Sweden. It's the one that for the longest time it was just assumed your parents wrote you in and whatever. But more and more people leave the church because they don't fucking care, right? They don't care and they don't want to pay the church for like anything. Not really, right? We're a secular society and we separate church and state and whatnot, and yeah, people don't really care about the religion, so why pay for these churches they don't care about? And then they were talking about the decline of the church and how they need to change how the church does things, because they had built the church upon the foundation that it has a lot of members that just pays without being involved. So they have to rethink these things. And something that was very interesting, because these were religious people, parts of the church, right? And they were arguing that there has been some politicians that has been politics has bled over into the church's business. And I actually had heard like people who work in the Swedish church arguing for, right? They were saying, we have a separation of state and church, so they should stay the fuck out, pretty much. And that made me happy. That made me so happy that I could flip the table, that the church was actually arguing for and saying like, we're supposed to have a separation of church and state. That made me very happy. Side note, sorry. And of course, so much force is withdrawn from your proper life. Right? He is saying that he has difficulty to understand the man you are, but then he is claiming that he knows the man you are, right? He knows, just because of your actions, that you are a follower of peer pressure, right? Just because you're part of a Bible society, you are a follower of peer pressure. And I don't find that to be true, like not even anecdotally, right? I've talked to a lot of religious people and they did not seem like followers. They read the books and were convinced of the thing, right? So his understanding of the world I don't agree with, but I could also see I could see his point as well, that there are a lot of followers that don't read the book and make up their own mind. Coleman 122 says, holy, holy, praise the... I don't see what that is. Fish moly? What is that? Is that just... Oh, that's one of those things. Gross looking fish. Is Kappa? Yeah. Praise the fish moly. Nice. But do your work and I shall know you. Do your work and you shall reinforce yourself. That I agree with, yeah. If you do the work, you will reinforce yourself. A man must consider what a blind man's buff is this game of conformity. Blind man's buff? The game of conformity? Oh, willful ignorance again, right? A man must consider, I must do no such thing. I must do no such thing. Right? But I can see benefits with conformity and I can see cons with conformity, right? It's not Yeah, not that black and white. Blasphemous says, it would be hard to have followers if they couldn't be convinced. What I'm understanding from what he's writing, not necessarily, right? He's saying that people don't do their work, right? And if you don't do your work, then you don't really get convinced, you get told, right? That's my understanding of what he's trying, well, not what he's trying to say, but that's my interpretation, right? That, right, if you are born into a Christian family and like they talk about God doing this and that and whatever, you're being raised a Christian, right? You never end up in a situation where you question the religious books or the religious ethics, right? And you don't read with well, not necessarily a critical eye, but you don't. But even before you start reading the book, you know the book is true. That is my understanding, right? That if you don't do your work, then you don't get convinced by the book because you were convinced even before you started reading. That makes sense? Blasphemous says, there are conspiracy theorists that do their work to become convicted. Putting in work doesn't mean much. Yeah, like there's a lot. Wait. Yeah, conspiracy theorists, there are people that put in their work and start believing in all different kinds of religions, right? Personally, I would prefer that over someone not doing their work, right? I would prefer that over people just like perpetuating norms because they were raised into the norms. If that makes sense, Blasphemous? And that's my understanding of his preference as well. That he prefer that kind of attitude as well. Well, that is my interpretation of the text, not him preferring that. It's what I get from the text. If I know your sect, I anticipate your argument. Sure. That kind of makes sense for him as well, right? I can anticipate Emerson's argument in a lot of stuff, right? It is not a very difficult approach he has, right? He's arguing from the instincts of the person, right? Live alone and all that, right? After I've been reading this, I can anticipate his arguments in places that I don't get that point. I hear a preacher announce for his text and topic the expediency of one of the institutions of his church. Do I not know beforehand that not possibly can he say a new and spontaneous word? You can assume, right? I can assume that the sun will rise tomorrow. I can assume when I go down to the shop, someone will not stab me. Doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it what actually will happen. With all these ostentations of examining the grounds of the institution, do I not know that he will do no such thing? Do I not know that he has pledged himself to not to look, but at one side, the permitted side, not as a man, but as a parish minister? I mean, actually, in this situation, I would hope so, right? If you know the sect and if you know what the church stands for, right? If you have a full understanding of that, then I would hope that you could expect, right? That you could predict what the parish minister was gonna do, right? Just like with any service. Like, again, when I go to the shop, I expect to know how the clerk will act. That's cooperation for you, right? Parish is gonna, I don't know, depending on the church, but they're gonna like preach every Sunday morning. And you can expect that, and you can expect what he will preach about. You might have even gotten a shiny letter in the mail that actually says straight out what he is gonna preach about, right? So you are prepared and can expect it. Isn't that a good thing? He is a retained attorney, and these heirs of the bench are the emptiest affection. Well, most men have bound their eyes with one or another handkerchief and attached themselves to some of these communities of opinion. All right. Okay, so what he's saying that is, all right, if we flip this around and instead interpret it like deep breaths.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
If we instead interpret it to not be as a service like the church is today, but as politics, and you yourself voted on a certain party. No, not voted on a certain party. You joined in. You started paying said party for their services. And if you if your loyalty to the party is higher than any discourse, right? That your loyalty is to the group rather to like thinking through the actual opinions, right? Actually going through, well, not even opinions, the opinions, right? The policies that you try to, right? Or in, I don't know, what is an example, like a typical example of this? Right, if you're one of the right-wing parties in Sweden, then you're for the lowering of taxes. If you're one of the left-wing parties, then you're for raising the taxes. If I can do that assumption about you, of your vote, right? If you make that assumption about yourself, that I would argue is, maybe not the best, right? My question would be, what specific taxes do you want to lower and why? What specific taxes would you raise and why? I find that more interesting than just the blind idea of raising or lowering taxes, just as a blanket statement. That's also my personal bias. Actually, I kind of like democracy, so I would push for that. I would push for people having, I would force people to think these questions through. In my opinion, rough. Blasphemuses. When I go to a doctor, I can expect shitty healthcare, but once in a while, I can be pleasantly surprised. Nice, yeah. Ooh, that's the benefit of Murphy's Law, right? Yeah. Murphy was an optimist. If you expect the worst, you can only be pleasantly surprised. Disconformity makes them not false in a few particulars, authors of a few lies, but false in all particulars. That I don't agree with. I can say, yeah. Right? We've talked about, like I've talked about that before, right? The priest does not lie to me, but I am being lied to by the priest. Right? But that is my interpretation of reality, right? So just like in that, like in my interpretation of reality, whatever they say, right? Actually, and I would say from their point of view, right? From the people speaking, the people that's being part of these parties or whatever. From their point of view, they are not liars, right? It's just from my point of view that they are intellectually dishonest. But that's my point of view. Which is actually probably an unfair point of view. Because that would mean I would enforce my idea of what intellectual honesty is. I wouldn't try to enforce that upon other people. Which, I mean, if I had the power, I would. Such a villain, yeah. I would, but that is my prerogative, right? Like, it's my opinion, and like everybody, I have one, and I think that's fine. But assuming that everybody has to follow my rules is kind of fucked, isn't it? Because what makes my rules better than your rules? What gives my rules the authority over your rules? Just because they're mine? Just because they make more sense in my head? I mean, your rules must make more sense in your head, right? Their every truth is not quite true. Here we got, what is truth becomes the question here, like, and that's a can of worms for another day, I think. Their two is not the real two. Their four is not the real four, right? What I read when I see this is I see him saying, their two is not my two, their four is not my four, and my four is way better than their four. Right? Because his attitude to true, right? Exactly what I said, right? That is what I see. I don't know how to make a charitable interpretation of that. Right, the thing that he's talking about now. Like, maybe if we keep on going, maybe it'll be some charitable interpretation of this stuff that I can get to, I suppose. So that every word they say, chagrinos. Ooh, that's... Keen feeling of mental unease as an annoyance or embarrassment caused by failure, disappointment, or disconcerting event. So that every word they say chagrins us. Who are these us? And who are they? And we know not where, well, we know who the they are. We don't know who the us are, right? Didn't he just say that there's supposed to be no us? Isn't that the whole point of this thing? He's supposed to be writing me here to follow his own rules. And we know not where to begin to set them right. Yeah, exactly. That thing still bothers me. I can't get around that, right? I'm fine with him saying that, right, be true to myself. But this is him saying that everybody else has to be true to me. Which is... right, it's a paradox within the context of the text, right? Because he's saying everybody should be true to themselves, and then he's saying everybody should be true to what I say. Set them right. Right? It doesn't compute. I don't get it. Meantime, nature is not slow to equip us in the prison uniform of the party to which we adhere. We come to wear one cut of face and figure and acquire by degrees the gentlest asinine expression. There is a mortifying experience in particular which does not fail to wreak itself also in the general history. I mean, the foolish face of praise, the forced smile which we put on in company where we do not feel at ease in answer to conversation which does not interest us. The muscles not spontaneously moved, but moved by a low, unsurprising willfulness, grow tight about the outline of the face with the most disagreeable sensation. It's not the most disagreeable sensation. It's etiquette. That is what it is. It's etiquette. But, right, he's throwing out... It doesn't surprise me that he throws out etiquette with ethics. Yeah, depends on the context. I would say that this depends on the context. I think it's fine, right? Actually, we've talked about that before. I'm very... I find weddings disagreeable, for example. I don't like weddings. But I will take, I will try to not look pained and look like I'm in suffering, right? It's not insufferable, right? I just don't like it. But I'm not going around on the wedding just telling everybody, oh, I don't fucking like weddings. It's not about me. The wedding is not about me. So I can put on a forced smile for the sake of all the others that don't feel that way, right? I don't want to rain on their parade. Why should I rain on their parade? Yeah. What is the argument for raining on their parade, right? For nonconformity, the world whips you with its displeasure. Yep. Well, not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. If you act outside of the norms, sure. But my understanding of his definition of, like, the definition of nonconformity we're talking about, and it is not just, right, acting, right? If you act as a response to the norms, right? If you act against the norms just to act against the norms, that is kind of your reactionary, right? You're just a follower as well, right? It's, well, you're the opposite, right? You don't think for yourself, you just do the opposite, right? So that is not what he's talking about. He's talking about just doing what makes sense to you, right? And some of these things that make sense to you will make sense, right? they will for him look like conformity. And those... No, they will not, right? Those things will not whip you with displeasure, right? It's just when you go against the norms that society whips you with its displeasure. And I would say, right, there are a lot of things where you can go against the norm where I would argue for that society should stop whipping you. A lot of stuff, right? If you don't harm or hurt anyone else with your stuff, then yeah, society should stop whipping you. That's a very simplified view of it, but yeah. That would be my thing. Therefore, a man must know how to estimate a sour face. The bystanders look askance on him in the public street or in the friend's parlor. If its aversion had its origin in contempt and resistance like his own, he might well go home with a sad countenance. But the sour faces of the multitude, their sweet faces, have no deep cause, but are put on and off as the wind blows and newspaper directs. Actually, this I find interesting, right? Something that bothers me, right, and it bothers me a lot, is that I hear that, I've heard that in many situations, right? At work, at family gatherings, at... Right? Not necessarily like a big deal, like a wedding, but something that happens every year, like celebrating a birthday. I don't know, family gatherings of one sort or another. Midsummer, let's say midsummer, where it's not about one person. Right? I could see, right, if there's a person who we're celebrating their birthday and they don't like talking about politics, then let's not talk about politics during that day. That makes a lot of sense, right? But like, let's say midsummer, where there is no one person in focus. Like the wedding, there is no one person in focus. Just get-togethers, barbecues, whatever. Or going to work. Actually, going to work is a way better thing to do, right? A lot of people saying that, oh, you should not talk about politics here. I think that is so dumb, right? Yeah. Like all these other, where there is not a focus on a single person, all these other events, like work, for example, is a great fucking place to talk politics, and it should be done more and more and more, in my opinion. In my opinion, yeah. So, like, and politics leads to sour faces, right? You shouldn't, right? And that is, right, I agree with him on that point, right? The sour faces is not reason enough to not talk about something. In these contexts, right? In some contexts, right? In some contexts, the sour faces should be enough in my mind, and in others, not so much. Yet, is the discontent of the multitude more formidable than that of the Senate and the college? It is easy enough for a firm man who knows the world to brook the rage of the cultivated classes. Their rage is decorous and prudent, for they are as timid as the very vulnerable themselves. Sounds like objectivism again, doesn't it? But when to their feminine rage... Oh, wow. But when to their feminine rage the indignation of the people is added, when the ignorant and the poor are aroused, when the unintelligent brute force that lies at the bottom of society is made to growl and mow, it needs the habit of magnanimity and religion to treat it godlike as a triumph of non-concernment. Oh, right. Of course. That is like, oh. That is such a, oh man. That's such an objective. I get flashbacks to BioShock again. Right? Oh, You band together against me? Oh, you're such cowards to not stand on your own. Like, it's such a... Isn't he the coward, right? If two people are to fight and one person is sure to win, right? If you and me fight and you are way stronger than me, you are sure to win that fight. Me bringing friends is not the act of a coward. Me bringing friends to the fight is me winning the fight. Right? So you being pissy about me winning the fight that you would have won otherwise, just makes you a sore loser. Yeah. You just come off as a sore loser, right? Their feminine rage. Oh. This I see today, right? They are timid, and therefore they are weak. And if they're weak, they should fucking lose because they are weak. Because their timidness are somehow not a worthwhile effort. No, you should be strong and violent. I don't know. So their rage is decorous and prudent, while my rage is all fine because I am alone and strong by myself and I can take care of my rage. They just have a different strategy than you. Yeah. That kind of triggered me a little bit. What is the more charitable interpretation of this? I don't know. I mean, we're all sore losers, I suppose. Right? That bitter taste of defeat. It hurts. Something like that. And it sucks to be defeated in any way, right? It doesn't... No, that's not a charitable interpretation, because then it doesn't matter how you get defeated. I would say, if you want to have whatever you want to do that may cause sour faces, I would argue for you cultivating said context. Not be filled with animosity. Right? Cultivate the discourse. Accept that there will be rage and sour faces. And be polite. Right? Be polite. But he would not agree to that, because that is caring about what other people thinks or feels, and he would probably reject that, or like, this text does not allow for that. I don't think. That's my interpretation anyway. Damn it. I'm noticing myself now since we've been talking about it. I'm talking about it like I'm talking to him and what his intentions are, but that it's just my interpretation, right? It's another thing that I can practice in my language. Ah. Practice. The other terror that scares us from the self-trust is our consistency. A reverence for our past act or word, because the eyes of others have no other data for computing our orbit than our past acts, and we are loath to disappoint them. This I agree with him. This is a fear. This is a terror to overcome. I think this is generally a terror to overcome, yeah? You are allowed to change your mind. Right. Yeah. You are allowed to change your mind. Definitely. And overcoming that fear, like, you should, like, yeah. Fear as a motivator to, like, this type of fear as a motivator to act, I would try to overcome, yeah. Blasphemous says, yeah, you do that like all the time. Well, yeah, right? I'm starting to noticing it, right? So I'm gonna re-practice that language I have as a goal right now, right? It is my interpretation. Yeah. So I'm glad we had that discussion, right? I enjoy doing that, right? That's... Well, enjoy is maybe a strong word. I find... I like it. I like the consequences. I like the... It feels like a worthwhile effort for me to try to change the way I talk. For it to make more sense to the way I view the world. Yeah. Like, build an idea of how the world works and then change the language based on said idea. I like that. Yeah. Blasphemous says, I don't always bother correcting you on it, because it can be too much work sometimes. Oh, I can... Yeah, I hear it myself, and I not always hear it. And it's fine, like... I'm grateful for if you correct me if it will cause a significant change, right? And well, now that takes a lot of work, just let it slide. Like, a lot of times I can get the same sentiment by just restructuring language, right? It's the same sentiment, but sometimes, right? Sometimes, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes the sentiment that comes with the language will fall apart with the changed language. That is kind of why I like to change the language. So it's a good practice. It's interesting trying to note. Not only is it a practice in improving my language from my point of view, it is also a practice in observing one's own thoughts, right? It's a different kind of introspection, right? And introspection is generally a good idea. That's probably the best thing, like, from the charitable interpretations of this text, is that it like, there's a lot of, like, that's a red line. What do we call that in English? When there's that's a common theme that I find in this text. A lot of introspection and trusting oneself, and just look at, what are you doing? Just because you have some kind of automated thinking patterns, or just because I have some automated thinking patterns doesn't make those patterns any good, right? They might have been generated by me, like he would say that they wouldn't. Well, my understanding of this text is that those were not generated by me, but they were generated by others in society. And they might, right? But to me, it doesn't matter where the thought patterns comes from. What matters to me is that they can be improved upon and changed. Doesn't matter if I generated them in the first place, in solitude, or if they got generated by social interactions with others. It's not always easy, right? Right, but why should you keep your head over your shoulders? Why drag about this corpse of your memory, lest you contradict somewhat? You contradict somewhat you have stated in this or that public place? Oh man. Actually, I think I've overcome that fear. I contradict myself like... Right? From one day to the next, I contradict myself. Right? I remember you pointing that out, that I contradict myself from one day to the other, and I think that's fine in different contexts. And I'm happy that those things gets pointed out, right? Because then I can look at the contradictions and say, well... And I can make a completely new idea on day number 3 or day number 2, whatever. Right? And then I forget all about it, and then I contradict myself again in the future, and then... it takes time to change. Yeah, change takes time. The older you get, the more difficult it becomes. Last message. Speaking of that, do you have a car or not? Oh, just because I drove a car yesterday? It was not my car I was driving. I was borrowing a car yesterday. So I have access to a car, but I don't own a car. Yeah. Well, I don't have unlimited access to a car. Hello, Lynx, is me now. Nice to see you again. How are you doing? Long time no talk indeed. Hope you're doing well. How's the streaming going? Lasma says, well, you said I drove my car, did I? That doesn't sound like me. Would I say something that doesn't make sense? Oh. Well, there we go. That was weird. Yeah. I contradicted myself today, right? It wasn't even between days. There we go. That feels like a language thing, right? Just, yeah. A language thing. Automated language. Drove my car. It was a long time ago I owned a car. Oof. Long time ago I owned a car. Lynx is me now says, I'm doing well, man. Nice. I had a question for you. Oh, I like questions. Shoot. Alright. Suppose you should contradict yourself. What then? Yeah, that's... Like, these contradictions are ways to learn, right? There are situations where you can learn, or just practice language, or just... Those contradictions might just be misunderstandings. And misunderstandings, like pointing those out, I think that's good communication. Yeah, I think good communication assumes misunderstandings. Now that I think of it. Lexus Me now says, first off, do you have a Discord server? Yeah, sure, if you do the Discord thing. But I was planning on not having that. Like, in my mind, I have a goal for the future to not have Discord anymore. Because it is not open source. It's not free and open source software. So I have a goal. At the moment I feel stuck with it. And if I do use my own server, that would mean I would get even more ingrained in it. So... maybe I should just, instead of having the Discord, like, because I want people to be able to contact me off stream, right? If you want to ask me something or just want to talk to me off stream, I want to be able to have the opt-in possibility to, like... But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's fine. Maybe you can just wait. Plasma says, I'm going to sandbox my games and wine programs on another user account. Oh, nice. That is what Nodrunner is doing, right? Sandboxing. Sounds like a fun exercise. At the moment, I'm doing the cute browsers thing. Yeah. Working out. Lynx is me now says, well, I love talking to you and the way your mind works. And I've been super busy, so I was wondering if I could invite you to my server. And then you can also meet my people and have more people to talk to. Oh yeah, sure. Like, very nice. I think I'm called just McDread on... Actually, I have it right here. We can probably add each other as friends, right? Let's see. Give me a moment. I'm gonna find... There is a profile thing, right? You have like a name and... right, a name and a number. Alright, here we go. McDread. Hashtag 42. Oh, nice. I've got 42 in it. There we go. That's me, if you want to add me as a friend. I mean, sure. I mean, I don't know how much time I would spend on there. But sure, I mean, yeah. Like, if you want to reach me, you can, like... I'll probably don't have... I don't like to have notifications on for groups, right? So... If you want my specific take or talk to me specifically, or do you want to, you have a discussion where you want to invite me to said discussion? Right. So, we'll see though.
The sounds were a real horror show. It's very realistic. And you could even get the heavy breathing and panting of the tall-chopping mouth chicks.
Oh yeah, thanks for the invite, Lynx is me now. I like having people to talk to. Alright, suppose you should contradict yourself. What then? Yeah. Alright, yeah, that's where I was. That's actually an interesting point. I haven't really thought about this before, but right? It is the way of the engineer, right? Where you do stuff in iterations and you make improvements. I've been going more and more towards that approach to life in general, right? Like having that approach, like assuming stuff is gonna go wrong. Yeah, Murphy's Law. Just assuming stuff is gonna go wrong. And then... yeah. Assuming misunderstandings. And then try to resolve said misunderstandings. I think that is probably a good approach to communication. Because misunderstandings do happen all the time. I don't know how that practically really looks in communication. Let's see, Blasphemous asks, do you play Mighty Goose? Lynx is me now. I've heard that before. Lynx is me now says, I also want to be able to show my other friends your stuff, and Discord is a good way to show them, in my opinion. My stuff? I mean, are we talking about my junk here? I'm not comfortable with showing that off. I wish to stay clothes. Stay with clothes on. Thank you very much. My group is very friendly. Nice. I've never heard of Mighty Goose. Blasphemous. Alright, so. Mighty Goose. I kind of feel like we've talked about this before. Let's loot the goose. Loose the goose. Yeah, right. This doesn't really look like my type of game. I think we've looked at it before. Epic Run and Gun, yeah. I've played... I've played a little bit of these games, but I don't enjoy them. I don't enjoy the mechanics. But maybe I should give them another try, right? That is closing yourself off. Having that attitude, oh, I don't like these mechanics. I might miss out on some good times. It's like being stuck in just listening to death metal. You might miss out on some good reggae, for example. Lasma says it looks fun. Lynx is me now says, might have to check it out. Also, Dread, when you accept my request, I can send the invite whenever you want. No rush. Alright, I can Accept immediately. Right, get it done. Wait, where is it? Here it is. Alright. Incoming friend requests. There we go. Nice. Oh man. Since you mentioned that, Blasphemous, I feel like... Why are they called friends? Why can't you just call them contacts? And have a contact list? Why does it have to be a friends list? I mean, I think we're friendly with each other, but like, there's stuff on here that people that I would not consider my friends. They are contacts. Just semantically. Oh. Hi, I'm new. Oh, right. There we go. Nice. Very nice. There we go. Your stuff, as in channel and personality. Oh, nice. I have a channel for I have a channel for Who Are You Watching, and they are pretty active, so I'm sure a great conversation could be made. Nice, I like. I have goose friends who would love it, lol. Nice. Yeah, I've heard about these supposed, probably geese. Alright, actually, I was looking for a break. I kind of want to go over to RuneScape. Oh, it's really close. Really close. Oh, fuck yeah, I had a long day yesterday. I was supposed to look in because there is a problem in RuneScape I need to deal with. I'm pretty sure there's a memory leak. So I don't know. Maybe I should try... Ooh, like trying downloading the flat pack. Maybe try to get the Proton thing working. Because the... yeah. Stuff. It lags. The FPS drops over time. It's super frustrating. Link says me now. Says I have real geese too, lol. Oh, do you? Nice. What does one keep geese? Do you eat goose eggs? Is that a thing? I mean, I know you keep chickens for eggs, and you can keep ducks for eggs? Right, and there's that one as well. I forgot about that. That is probably the way to do it, no, Donna. Yeah, Lux Torpeda. That is probably the way to fix RuneScape. Nice. Thanks for the tip. I forgot about it again. Like, right. Torpeda. That is probably the way to do it. But, and that's not the one, right? It's another one. There we go. Dev GitHub. This is... ah, here we go. This is the one. That is probably the way to fix it. Thanks. Thanks, Not Honor. Alright, Blasphemous says, reading is better than RuneScape. I would agree, in general, Blasphemous. Also, it takes energy out of me, the reading thing. So I've noticed, like, me reading for too long. Well, actually, I feel fine now. I feel okay now. But it takes out of me, and I get tired. Blasphemous says, when someone is the highest donator, they are the goose that laid the golden egg. Oh man. For some reason, I got a flashback to that scene in Dogma. I guess you have seen Dogma. I don't know why. I would assume that you enjoy Dogma as well, Blasphemous. That scene when they come to the that board meeting. The angels come to the board meeting and he's doing his voodoo onion doll and everything. The golden goose. the golden duck in that sense. Great scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. I don't believe in voodoo, but I do believe in this. Oh man, that's so funny. Huh. Note Honor says, I've been showing you a lot of stuff lately that I've shown you before, and you have A, not noticed, and B, found it more useful or interesting now than in the past. Yeah, that happens all the time. Happens all the time. Right? This I found useful because it is pertinent to something that I need, right? If RuneScape were working just out of the box, right? For me, if the AUR version of it would work, this would have no interest to me, right? But since I'm having trouble with RuneScape, I am motivated to fix those problems, and this is probably the way to fix that problem, right? Right? So, yeah. I mean, I think I've noticed before, right? I've noticed when you talked about it before, but I have not been interested in it because of the game list, right? There's a game list. And that's how I work, right? When it's pertinent to me, I need that motivation. Otherwise, right? Just getting this working without having a specific game to get working, I just won't do that. That won't follow my interests at all. Let's see. Huh. So yeah, you've shown me a lot of stuff, right? Like, I still haven't, right? The Nick, you've shown me a lot of great Nix stuff that have just put on the sideline and maybe even forgotten about because I'm not working on getting Nix running at the moment. So I will find it more useful and interesting in the future when I go back to actually getting Nix working. Links is me now says, also Blas, you're more than welcome to join the Discord also, if it is of interest to you. Blasman says, I don't use Discord, but thanks. Indeed. That's... it's not free and open source word. Yeah, it's not free and open source software. Links is me now says, do you smoke Dread? No, I did the snooze. Where we put tobacco under our lip. It's a Swedish thing. I did that for 20 years. But I quit. I quit a year and almost a year and a half ago. I'm actually proud of myself. I thought I was gonna do the tobacco and nicotine thing until I died. But here I am. Clean. I'm clean from it. Yeah. Lasmus says, I need to make a script to find doubles for songs. Sometimes I download singles before the full album releases. Yeah, that sounds like easy enough to make. Difficult, like if you have a lot of gigs. Well, you don't have to go through the actual songs. You just have to go through your directories, right? I wonder, is that a problem? I've been curious about that. That is like, I have difficulty in scaling performance. If you make, like, let's say you have tens of thousands of songs, right? Something like that. You have tens of thousands of songs, and they all end up in different directories based on, I don't know, artist, album, artist and record, like the single or album, right? And it end up in that. If you have tens of thousands of those and you just write a bash script that just goes through each and every one of these of tens of thousands of items and check for a duplicate. Will that be a performance thing, or can the computer just do that like that? I have difficulty understanding these things. Like gauge. Yeah, I don't have a gauge for where does performance become an issue. Blasphemous says, most games are not free and open source. Yeah, it's very sad. But I can see a possible future, right? We need a killer app. There has to be like where it actually takes advantage of the free and open source nature, which it can, right? I can, like, there are plenty of games that would get improved by and I'm talking not about the cathedral here. I'm talking about the market approach to free and open source software, that a game could become like way better just by using that structure. Not all games, but some games. Links is me now says, that's good that you quit. I still vape. Oh. Well, good luck in trying to quit, if you decide to. Links is me now says, and I also have a shitty keyboard with stiff keys right now, so pardon for the typing errors. It's fine. It's fine. Sometimes I misunderstand what you're trying to say, but that is what happened. Like, let's assume misunderstandings are gonna happen. Like, when misunderstandings happen, that is one way, right? If we assume and like have that attitude to communication that misunderstandings will happen, then one way to do that is never apologize for being unclear. Right? Celebrate that there was some unclearness going on. Well, fuck. No, that would just lead people to be extra vague all the time and not to practice being more clear. Yeah, the consequences of that would suck. Oh, man. Alright, I'm a little behind on the chat here. I need to move my music thing. Nodonor says, I quit vaping and spent my vaping money saved on a new keyboard. Nice. And it is a cool keyboard indeed. Alright. Blasphemous says, music. Yeah, the directory structure. Music, artist, album, 01 song. Wait. Oh, right. That's part of the name, the 01. Because it's the first. Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it's easy to make a thing to look for it, right? It's not very difficult. It's just... I'm just curious about the performance of the thing. Alright. Links is me now responds to the quitting vaping thing in the keyboard. Well, funny. I just got the PC. It came with the keyboard. I already ordered a new one. Ah. Oh, nice. Nice. That is some fancy stuff. Just getting a new PC. Oh man, that feels good, doesn't it? Buying stuff. Being a consumer. It feels good. I bought this one. Wait, you bought another one? Batteries. Or is this the one, but you just have replaced all the... what are the keycaps? No, yours isn't black, is it? I think you showed a picture of it. I don't remember the name. Atreus? It is compact. I mean, it's the same layout. I recognize the layout. Links is me now says, ew, not to be rude, but I hate that keyboard. I kinda like it. I could see myself getting something like this. Right? When you start living and just doing a lot of stuff with the keyboard instead of the mouse, having fewer keys, right? I have difficulty learning and hitting the keys. Like, I'm fat fingering a lot of the time with this huge fucking monster of a beast that I have. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I fat finger all over the place. But the smaller it is, like, it's the easier it is to train muscle memory, right? Alright. Blasphemous said, I'll have it create a list with artist and song title and then search for duplicate entries. Oh, right. Of course. You just add to the list, alright? You can even do that through a database or whatever. Yeah, that seems like the performant way to do it. Yeah, of course. Instead of iterating through all the directories and going through. That doesn't answer my question. Will it be a... will it be a performance terrible thing to look through the directories? That was my question. Difficult to gauge. Rude, says No Runner. It is what it is. It's not rude. What is the advantage of that keyboard design? I'm sure there is one, but I don't get it offhand. Well, one advantage was the one I just gave, yeah. Looks at me now, says, what if I need numbers? Oh, you have layers, right? Like you press shift or whatever, or super, like... Just like you have layers for small case and uppercase, you have layers for numbers and not numbers. And you can do whichever way you want. Maybe you can do a numpad over here, or you can make like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Right. You can do it either way you like. Oh, No Runner already answered. I don't know why. Alright. You have numbers on another layer. It's fully programmable, says No Runner. Yeah. Links is me now, says, well, I'm glad you have a keyboard you enjoy. Yeah, me too, yeah. No Runner spent a lot of time on that keyboard. It's very cool. No Runner says, I actually have more key functions than a traditional keyboard, despite having fewer keys. Very cool. Yeah, indeed. A lot of cool stuff. Blasphemous says, no, it only takes like 2 seconds to make a list of all my songs. Oh, here we go. But iterating the list will take less than 1 second, right? So it would take 2 seconds every time you would add a new song to check for duplicates, so that would be a performance issue. Alright. Find, then music, type, -if name, .mp3. Yeah, making the list, indeed. Alright. Alright, back to it. Fuck, I didn't mark where I was. Why should you keep your head? Why drag this corpse off the memory? Lest you contradict. Alright, right. Contradictions are just fine. It seems to be a rule of wisdom never to rely on your memory alone. Yeah, scarcely even in acts of pure memory. But to bring the past for judgment into the thousand eyes present and live ever in the new day. Actually, this surprises me, right? This was in the middle of the 1850s, right? Written. And he says that it's a rule of wisdom to never rely on memory. That actually surprises me. I would have thought that people just... right? Because our bias of our memory, we think our memory is just fine. That's a bias. That's the experience of memory that we have as people, right? That we think that we remember what happened, but we really don't, right? It surprises me that he claims that as wisdom. I don't understand why he's talking about that in this context, though. Oh, all right. It's an argument for how easy it is to contradict yourself. I guess. In your metaphysics, you have denied personality to the deity. Who are you? I don't know. Yet when the devout motions of the soul come, yield to them heart and life, though they should clothe God with shape and color. Leave your theory, as Joseph, his coat in the hand of the harlot, and flee. This... I don't get that at all. I don't understand the context of it, and I don't understand what it means. And it's religious iconography, so I'm just gonna skip it if no one else found that interesting. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblins of little minds. Nice. Links is me now, says, well, I'm gonna go do some stuff. Have a great night, everyone. Yeah, nice to see you again, Links is me now, and thanks for the invites and everything. Have a good one, and yeah. See you later, I guess. Yeah. Northerner says, I'm also heading off. Have a good one. Yeah, sleep tight. Sleep tight. Indeed. Have a good one indeed. Oh. Thanks for hanging out. Blastman says, no, it should be quick. Unique-D. Wait. But if it takes 2 seconds to make the list, isn't that... No. That's different. That's completely different. Because you do the... You append all the stuff to the list. That is what makes it... take 2 seconds, right? But that you do that only once, right? You only append everything to the list once. Blasphemy says, my music is on an HDD, not an SSD. Kappa? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, yeah. Having that on an HDD, I need to get my... Well, I do have HDDs. I should put one into this computer for... whatever reason. It's one of those things, right? I've been thinking, oh, maybe I should put some more space into the computer, but it's like with Lux Torpedo, right? I haven't needed it, so therefore I haven't done it. I see it laying right there. I have no idea if it works, even. The HDD. Foolish consistency is the hobgoblins of little minds, adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divides. Alright. I want to draw a line here. Like, I would say that if we're gonna have representative politicians, then during whatever, like in our current system, like if they work on a term, they have to stay consistent, right? Because they are represent, right? They have an obligation to stay consistent and not change their mind, because it's actually not their minds that they are supposed to be arguing from, right? It's not their opinions they're supposed to be arguing from. In the grand scheme of things, right? In theory, yeah, that's the idea, right? They're supposed to represent. Right? Statesmen. So, in their statesmanly duties, I would say they should be consistent. I would say philosophers should be consistent. Like, they can change their mind whenever they like, right? But if you write a text, that text should not contradict itself. It should be consistent. Right? You shouldn't have your cake and eat it too. You shouldn't do the cherry picking, right? Like, that has frustrated me with this specific text. That my interpretation of this specific text has been that everybody should trust their own mind, but everybody should trust my mind. Right? That's an inconsistency for me, right? I don't... Right, that lower, like, and the reason for that is because it lowers, right, the convincibility of the text, right? There's a reason that type of consistency is to strive for. But in your own mind and your own idea of the world, Of course you can change your mind whenever, right? There are different contexts. You can get convinced by, like, a fluid mind, I think, is an adaptable mind. I think, in my opinion, is something to strive for anyway. Because that leads to improvement, right? That's my thinking again, right? Always assume mistakes, assume bad stuff, and make improvements upon them. Blasphemous. Okay, you mean within one piece of work? Oh, yes. Yeah, one piece of work. That makes sense, because a statesman, that's one piece of work they do over time, and a philosopher, like one book, right? One book. And like I don't mind if they contradict, like inconsistencies, if it's a collection of essays written over time, right? Because, right, people develop, get new ideas, and hopefully improve on said ideas, right? So a philosopher that writes a text when they're 25 years old and then write a text 10, 20, 40 years later on that same topic will not have the same ideas, and that type of inconsistency is just fine, right? Blasphemous. Maybe you should reread that part and figure out if it really was contradictory. You mean I should reread that part and see if I can find a charitable interpretation that does not lead to a contradiction in my mind? There probably is, right? There probably is. And, I mean, you do have I could see a argument to reread. But I'm not going to, because I'm a lazy fucker, aren't I? I'm just a lazy fucker. There's a new text to read. Well, I'm gonna keep reading this text tomorrow, right? But, yeah. Rereading the text. But, I mean, there probably is, right? Blasphemous. It probably helps that you've been able to read more since then and can form a better opinion what was said. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, definitely. Definitely that would happen, right? I remember reading the first paragraphs and I have no idea what he's talking about. I don't understand anything. If I go back and read the first paragraphs with my interpretations from what I have read already, I will come back with deeper understanding and an improved understanding of, like, an improved interpretation of what is being said. I'm still not gonna do that because this essay is way too long for me to go back and reread it. Like, I don't think it's valuable enough for me to do that. Which, I mean, kinda, yeah. It's a filter. It's a filter for me to have. My prerogative. I think, right, he is repeating himself a little bit as well, which has been helpful in building the idea of what I'm reading, right? Like, just, yeah. I made a way more charitable interpretation when I just started out reading today, I think. I was quite proud of that. What's that? Re-summarize of my memory of the thing. Right. With consistency, a great soul has simply nothing to do. Oh. I mean, soul and great, I don't know, but right. Consistency is boring, right? Yeah, consistency is boring. Some people find consistency boring, right? There is one of the big five is openness, right? Some people want static. I like in ideas and world building. I don't like consistency. I like improvements. I like changes. I like to integrate new ideas into world building. But on my daily routine, I'm not very open. I want it to be the same. I want to find a routine, and I kind of like this routine. Reading in the morning. Reading in the morning for a couple of hours, and then playing some games. And tomorrow, reading a couple of hours, about 1.5, 2 hours. And then jump onto a game. I kind of like this structure, and I like the reading essays part. I think a lot of the reason why I got tired of...
You know why they put oxygen masks on planes? So you can breathe. Oxygen gets you high.
That book was because it was too long. Crime and Punishment. An essay this length. I kind of like this. We're only on the 3rd essay of this structure so far, but I have hopes for it. Alright. Yeah, so yeah. Some people find consistency boring, others do not. So... Right, again, I don't like these great souls kind of attitudes. Right, he's talking about his own soul, which he and I do have a similar approach to life, right? Probably introspection and in some senses, similarities in world building. And would get bored if we did not get our daily dose of philosophy or whatever. Something like that, right? But I don't think that just because people have the complete, right, are opposite, or let's say opposite, have a different approach to life and do not feel this way, I don't think they are lesser people. And I don't like that sentiment that they would be. I'm not, he's not even, the text doesn't even say that, right? It is my interpretation. We talked about that. It's the same thing we talked about it yesterday, right? I do that because I am sensitive to that thing. Just because someone is different, they are treated lesser. I am sensitive to that. So, right? That is why my interpretation becomes that. Right? Someone else with not my history would not do that interpretation from this text at all. But it gives me an opportunity to point out, right? That is one of my things that I like to point out, that don't see other people as lesser. Blasphemous says, I think Cider just likes to argue and get mad. I do, yeah. I don't think I would agree that I necessarily get mad. I get excited. Sometimes it might teeter into a little bit of anger, right? Since I'm an angry person. Sure. I definitely like to argue, right? There we go. I don't like conflict. Yeah. I feel uncomfortable around conflict. These, for me, is not, right, personal conflicts. But conflicts between ideas I enjoy, because that's not a conflict between me as a person and you as a person. Skip song, someone was singing. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can skip whenever you like. Well, there's a 10-second cooldown on the thing, but other than that, it's fine if you just don't like the song. You can skip it. For whatever reason. That's why the command is there. Right. But yeah, definitely I like to argue. That's my daily dose of philosophy, right? That's part of it. It's not only about improvement, right? That's what I tell myself. Yeah, I tell myself it's all about the improvements. But of course, I enjoy it. It doesn't have to lead anywhere. I don't have to improve myself of anything. Just argue for the sake of argument. I do enjoy that as well. Yeah. Because that is how long it will take to finish this. Wait, alright. Blasphemous says, Banana Wolf Monkey, where are you to talk to Cider about RuneScape in 30 minutes? Because that is how long it will take to finish this paragraph? No, it won't. It will take... Right, I can probably finish this in 30 seconds. No, not 30 seconds, but yeah. Right, and we're going off on tangents, and I'm happy going off on tangents. I like tangents. Actually, I kind of like going off on tangents and having a text to snap back to, right? Like when we just talk about a topic in general, right? Then usually, like sometimes the tangents just leaves the topic unfinished. But this one, right? You can snap back to it easier. It's like, yeah, because trusting my memory or anyone's memory to bring the topic back. The text can't argue back, Kappa, right? Can't. That's what, well, right. That's what I would prefer is argue with you guys, right? Right? I'm not really arguing. Well, I am arguing with the text. Well, I'm arguing with my own mind in the text. Yeah, I'm arguing with myself rather than the actual text. But I've been angry at books before, right? I've thrown books into the wall since I've argued with them and thought they were... Like, my interpretation of what they were saying was dumb. Did I just say I was dumb? That's interesting. Blasphemous says, Cider argues with split personality on the next Jerry Springer. Nice. No, but, right, how to put that? Right, I don't see it as arguing with myself. I'm not arguing with the author. I'm not arguing... No, I am arguing with myself. Right? I'm trying to find a way to internalize the words and see if I can find improvements and do arguments. And also, like, what I do like also, right? That's not really... It's a little bit a part of the argument, but it is me expressing myself. Right? That is one of the main reasons why I started streaming, right? I want to express my own ideas and thoughts and arguments. So, right, it's not even arguing, I'm just reacting to the text and my interpretation of the text that I'm reading, right? It's just reactions. Reactionaries. And I get excited about expressing these things. They might lead to arguments or not. This is therapy for Cider. I mean, sure. It has therapeutic value. Yeah, definitely. Expressing myself? Definitely. It's been very good for me, streaming. Just expressing myself? Very good for me. I think. It feels good anyway. Right? That's why I've heard that term a lot before, right? Safe space. This is a safe space for me, where I can express myself. I haven't had a lot of that in my life. Not a lot. I have some of it, right? But here it's like, it's my rules, right? My rules goes. So I don't have to, right? Right? It's not like going to a wedding where I have to temper myself, right? When I get excited about some idea that pops up in my head, or I hear someone say something and I get excited about the ethics of that idea and just wanting to argue that idea, I have to temper myself for the sake of others. In here, it's just... It's... Yeah. One of the reasons why it has been good to me. Blasphemous says, where is sad_girl? Is that some of the bots that usually hang around Blasphemous, right? I think I recognize you've mentioned sad girl before. Yes, alright. And the bot is not here today. So it's a sad girl that's usually here, but not here today. I have no idea. Alright, now I forgot. What was the paragraph talking about? Oh, damn it. It's already been 5 minutes since you said it was gonna take 30 minutes. And I have to go back a sentence just to see where I was. Alright. With consistency, a great soul has simply nothing to do. Alright, you get bored. Alright. I am reading an argument for not trying to be consistent in your own life. There we go. That would be the way to restructure the language, right? I think so. Not he is writing about. I am reading about. Yeah. Refocus. Refocus the language. Right. He may as well concern himself with his shadow on the wall. Didn't get that part. Speak what you think now in hard words. And tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again. Though it contradict everything you said today. Alright, yeah, it's exactly what he said. And I'm still not liking the hard words thing, right? Other people matter. Yeah, other people matter. So you shall be sure to be misunderstood. Is it so bad then to be misunderstood? Oh, look at this. Nice. Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates, and Jesus, and Luther, and Copernicus, and Galileo, and Newton, and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh. To be great is to be misunderstood. That... I agree with the idea, just for completely different reasons. Just because you're misunderstood does not make you great. Just because you think differently than everybody else doesn't make your ideas great. Right? That... Just... Just no. Just no. Can't buy into that. But I do like this. This is like a fairly fresh idea in my mind, right? Misunderstandings will happen, right? You will be misunderstood. It doesn't make you great, it just will happen. And working from that premise, I just think it's good communication. Good communication. Blasphemous says, I think he's saying it is okay to be misunderstood, and that doesn't mean you're wrong. Alright, yeah, that's a more charitable interpretation. I would have to go with that. If we just toss away this sentence, it's fine, right? If we just ignore this sentence, I'm with you, then it's just, yeah, look at all these people, they were misunderstood. Yeah. Alright, this here, and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh. Right? He's saying that every person ever has always been understood, right? Every person has been misunderstood in their life. At some point or other. Maybe. Yeah, I like that interpretation. That makes sense. That's an... Yeah. So we've got two arguments for, like, this is just my idea. Like, he hasn't talked about communication in that sense, but I'm interested in that idea that came out. Well, he didn't. In my interpretation, he did not talk about. No, the text was not about communication, but it triggered an idea about communication. Is that the way to express it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But there are two arguments for trying to communicate, like adopt one's mode of communication to be focused on misunderstandings. One is that misunderstandings will happen, right? Murphy's Law as an argument for it. And just like there is a stigma on being misunderstood, right? There's a stigma of saying something that breaks the norm. It is easier to become wait, how do I put this? Right? New ideas are often misunderstood. And these new ideas can be beneficial, right? Blasphemous says you're on the right track. Yeah, I mean, it takes practice, right? It takes practice. Rome wasn't built on a day. But there are, great arguments, so... It kind of, when I think about it now, it feels like it just ends up in the same place. With the charitable interpretation stuff, right? That you always make assumptions. Feels like that is what happens, right? Interpretations are always assumptions, right? And... Oh, but that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is an actual communicative strategy to do this. And maybe, I mean... Since we're in a charitable mood, hard words puts those misunderstandings on a head, right? That's kind of why I like to take extreme examples, right? Because they highlight, the hard words will highlight misunderstandings. They might. There is probably a correlation between hard words, like, especially if you say hard words with the intent, right? With the communicative intent to find the potential misunderstandings. Using hard words with that intent probably will help you out. While more timid words, it's easier to... more timid words becomes easier to interpret whatever way you want. In the, like, if we're thinking of the way of the of this text, which is interesting. This is not really about self-reliance. This is about communication, but right? That's the benefit of doing interpretation. You can talk about whatever you want, I guess. Blasphemous says, I don't think you can take everything they say as literal. I think I can. Isn't that typical for people that ends up in the group where I end up, right? Oh, taking stuff literal and being hyper-focused on semantics. I mean, I might not be able to, but I damn well can try. I can try. Oh, man. Alright. Blasphemous continued. Just cause they may have a great mind does not mean they will communicate to you in the way that will make you happy. Right, and... Oh, right. And there we go. These people, right? People who are very good at science, right? Doesn't have to be a great mind, just people who are very good at stuff like that don't always are the best communicators. That's why in the modern sense we have science communicators like Tom Scott and Joe Scott and Veritasium and a lot of great YouTubers. Sagan, right? Sagan was one of those. those were people who might not have been the greatest at figuring out new ideas about science or philosophy or whatever, but they are very good at putting them together in a neat package for people to interpret and build their own understandings, right? Right, so they are great at what they do, right? I mean, I really like Veritasium. The way he explains things, right? The last couple of videos has been about things that me and Colgate in On Tap were talking a lot about, right? And I feel like I'm super happy that we talked about it because I got an even deeper understanding now that Veritasium made videos about it. Right? So he was a great communicator. But, right, the people who figured out these ideas might not have been, and that, like, having the idea that they should be great communicators is a mistake. Yeah, right? That will make me happy, indeed. Yeah. Wait, fuck, I missed the context. I want to read. Blasphemous said, I don't think you can take everything they say literal. Just because they may have a great mind does not mean they will communicate to you in the way that will make you happy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes sense to me, right? Right. Some people that has a great mind for rhetorics, right? They will communicate in a way that makes me happy, and also will trick me into believing stuff that I might not have believed otherwise, right? You can have a great mind to do a great many things, right? There are millions of stuffs one can be great at and have a great mind for. Self-reliance in thought. Oh, yes. I like that. Self-reliance in thought. That kind of feels like when we... I like that interpretation. The text is about self-reliance in thought. He is arguing for self-reliance in action as well. Well, self-reliance in many different aspects, right? Self-reliance in action and in thought. Anything else? Self-reliance in anything else? Blasphemous says, sometimes it is best to examine the ideas rather than nitpicking at the small things. Alright, but that is how our minds work differently, Blasphemous. My mind gets the grander ideas from the small nitpicking, I think. But I see your point, right? Like, we build an idea from all the small nitpick, like the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And what I do when I read, what you have pointed out, right, is a lot what I do is I look at all the different parts and I focus on... I think that is specific for this type of reading. Yeah. The reading out loud, right? I'm reading a sentence and then I react to said sentence. But I think... Right? We can talk about the bigger and grander ideas, right? Examine the ideas as a whole. And I feel like most of the time spent nitpicking, but could spend more time looking at the grand scheme of things, grand scheme of the essay, I suppose. Blasphemous, that can also get things mixed up. Oh, but yeah. So the best approach would be to do both, right? The holistic approach is usually a great approach to have, right? You look at the nitpicky stuff, you look at the whole thing, right? That's lessens the amount of mixing up that happens, right? Sure, that is what happens, indeed. But also, right, getting stuff mixed up. That's like misunderstandings. And it's great to have misunderstandings, since that is the way your brain works. I wonder if it is. I'm curious, like in this context, in this specific context, it feels like that is how my brain works. But I've been a big proponent of holism for a long time. And holistic approaches for a long, long time. It feels like the way my mind works is that I do all the nitpicking and then I sleep on it. I think I sleep on it. And I get the big picture later on. I don't think I don't get the big picture, like, unless we like specifically start talking about it, right? It's kind of shoehorns me into the big picture thing. It's kind of like I take all these nitpicks and I find the nitpicky things that I like and the things that I don't like. And then later those nitpicky things comes up when looking at another picture. Maybe. Were your parents that way too? That's interesting. Because I think we haven't talked about it. So, right? And I don't know if I'm interested in talking about it, but I think that neither of my parents would get the autism diagnosis, but I think both of them believe that I inherited the specific parts of autism from them to get this diagnosis. Because they both have... Yeah. I think both of them think that they are the primary genetic contributor. Blasphemous says, you need time to process it all. Yeah. I'm slow, right? I'm not stupid, I'm just slow. Would you say they have traits that you now have? Yeah, definitely, right? Definitely. Yeah. Definitely, right? I can trace back my brand of introversion. That definitely comes from my father and my grandfather, right? I'm very similar to both of them. In my traits, my brand of introversion, yes indeed. Very similar. And my liking argumentative situation, that comes from my mother, definitely. Well, there are similarities, right? I'm not saying that it's necessarily genetic, right? It's 50-50, right? It is nature and nurture, right? These traits comes from both nature and nurture. It kind of felt like I made it sound like it was all genetics, and I just wanted to point out that's not the argument that I tried to make. Blasphemous says, does that drive your dad crazy when you talk to him about stuff, Kappa? How did you know? How did you know? Sound like just like your mom? No, he doesn't say that, because I don't sound just like my mom. We're like, yeah, we have, yeah, mine, right, and that's where my uniqueness comes in, right? The semantic focus. My mom does not have that semantic focus at all that I have. Where does she come from? I can't really say what her focus of argument is. I think consequentialism. Stuff like that. She cares about the consequences of actions. Consequences. Yeah. Consequences. She's more action oriented and I'm more semantic oriented, I think. Yeah, but the analytical, sure, we're both analytical, right? It's analysis takes argumentation, right? That's arguing with yourself with the text. That's analyzing the text, right? Yeah. All right. Right, and now that I think about it a little bit, I think I do like becoming a little bit upset and a little bit mad. Because this text is very binary, right? I've been complaining about that it's very black and white. But right, if we just think about writing stuff in the black and white, and we're talking about using hard words, right? I have argued for benefits of that before. That I do a similar thing, right? Look at the extremes. So, right, if we do a charitable interpretation, is that the argument might not be that black and white as my interpretation of it is. It is just black and white to help us out with the interpretation of the thing. That is a charitable interpretation of the thing, right? Maybe that's just the way he writes? Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, sure. But if that is the way he writes, that kind of implies that that is the way he thinks. Writing from too many points of view then just creates a never-ending flow of text. Yeah, but let's see. My example for... Let's use this, for example. To be great is to be misunderstood. Maybe that is specific for how my mind interprets things. But in my mind, this example is like, oh, you have to be misunderstood to be great. That is what my mind sees, and that's very black and white, and I think you can be great in a great many ways. Right? Because that is semantically what I see, right? To be great is to be understood. One equals the next. That is what I read. And that, right, thinking this way, I don't think is beneficial. But writing this way, it's like, it's hyperbolic, right? We can see it as hyperbole. Right? I don't have to imply that being understood is to be great as well. It doesn't mean that. That is my interpretation, right? It's just from how I understand language. And I don't think that is gonna change. What I can do instead is just say that that is my understanding and it doesn't have to be that way. And maybe it is a benefit to look at it that way. Well, there's pros and cons. Pros and cons for how I work. Blasphemous, then it's too hard to stay on topic. Right, yeah, that's what I mean, right? The language can be written. Like, you could write this in just a lot of great... Well, he would write men, right? A lot of great men have been misunderstood. You can write it that way so the language does not look as binary. A lot of great people have been misunderstood. Right? You could write that way. And that is just my criticism, specifically, right? I would not, right, if this sentence was rewritten like that, I would not, right? You helped me make a more charitable interpretation of this. If this was written like that, I wouldn't needed your help to make my interpretation more charitable. Right? I would have more easily come to a charitable interpretation with that text. But it is as you said, right? People don't have to make me happy. And that's fine. still what I do. It's how I work, how I read.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Let's see. This guy kind of seems poetic at times from what I saw at the beginning. Yeah. There's a lot of... Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's definitely rhetorics, right? There's definitely aesthetic. He has an aesthetic view. And it makes sense, right? It makes sense from his point of view to write that way, to write philosophy that way as well. From this point of view, right? Fullest consistency, right? It makes sense that, of course you write it the way that you think it's pretty. What other way would you write it? If you don't think it's pretty, then don't write it that way. That makes sense from the self-reliance kind of attitude, right? Because it is very internalized, focused on what you think is pretty, right? And the type of language that I often argue for is more like a pragmatic and it's for communication, right? The language I focus on, I want language to be made in such a way that, what do I want? Increases communication, supports communication in the best way possible, and to get these ideas, right? I really enjoy academic writing, for example, because it has very structured rules, right? You're supposed to write one way. For it to make sense. And I like that. I like that kind of way. I like the hourglass method for writing academic text, for example. I like that structure. Because if I get that structure, I can... For me, it's easier communication. Alright, blasphemuses. Ralph Waldo Emerson. He died at 1882. Who went by his middle name Waldo. Oh. Alright, Waldo Emerson was an American essayist, lecturer, philosopher, abolitionist, and poet, who led the Transcendentalism movement in the mid-19th century. Indeed, yeah. Oh, man. Alright. 26 minutes in. No, that was 25 minutes ago, where you it was gonna take 30 minutes. Oh, man. Always seeing into the future, eh? Blasphemous says, if everyone wrote one way, people wouldn't want to read. I am not convinced of that, but if everyone wrote one way, that would suck. I would say that in certain contexts, writing one way is preferable. Philosophy not being one of them. Yeah. Philosophy is not one of the things where everybody should write the same. Yeah. No, philosophy is a qualitative thing, right? Yeah. Philosophy, right? If you have an idea, you need to be able to express that idea from the way it best suits you, right? If it's like for these, right? We have these people. Socrates, he has to be able to, his ideas, he has to be able to express the way that it makes sense to him. And then we have the philosophy communicators who can take that, can decode that idea and translate it into different types of writing. And what I like is if people translate these ideas into the more academic rule set, because it makes it easier for me. And it's transferable. No, it's... What's that word? Those types of translations are... tend to be. Not are. They tend to be more transferable between more people, right? Like you said, right? Like he says, right? These leads to a lot of misunderstandings. while a more structured and ruled type language leads to, like, if we're talking about learning, it is better. But again, it's context, right? Contexts. And in learning, I would argue, even for in learning, I would argue for reading the poetic texts as well, right? To learn how to interpret different types of texts. You can find personal preferences then after the fact. So translating for different types of language is a worthwhile effort, I think. Doesn't have to be academic, it can be translating academic to poetic and different types of poetic stuff and stuff like that, I guess. Blasphemous says, Jesus had to tell people in their heads what to write for him. / sarcasm. Oh man, I don't know enough Christian lore to get that sarcasm. In their heads? Blasphemous says, look at me, Cider is misunderstanding me, I'm fucking great. Where's Waldo? Yeah, where's Waldo? Yeah, right, that is what I read when I saw this. That is exactly what I was seeing when I read that. Alright, I suppose no man can violate his nature. Actually, I like that for tomorrow. Everything that is in nature is in nature. It's never an argument. I hear that, like, I've heard that so many times. It's natural. And for some reason that's an argument for one thing or another, and it's like, I mean, eating cyanide is natural. I don't know. Computers are natural. They are in nature. So, right. So I don't know. But that is me. That is not a charitable interpretation what they mean, right? I can, right? I do nitpick on the thing, but I also can interpret their actual... the actual argument, right? I'm not blind to it, I just... Oftentimes I think it falls on its ass. That argument. Yeah. Blasphemous says, tobacco was natural until they added a bunch of chemicals. My argument would be it still is. All those chemicals were in nature, right? So tobacco is still natural. And yeah, that's the argument, right? It's healthy if it's natural. And I'm like, no. Synthetic stuff is super healthy, right? There are medicines that help cure people's ailments that are synthetic, right? And they're like, you can eat bitter almonds. They are natural without adding anything, but they are not very healthy. So that is why, yeah, that's why the natural argument bothers me, because it's used to mean healthy when it's a non sequitur. Yeah. It's not a valid argument. There we go. All right. Back to RuneScape. All right. That was 3 hours of reading and talking. That's a new record, I think. That's a new record for me, reading and talking for 3 hours. Oof. It went quite well.